Welcome and thank you for joining us for our annual State of the City Address. I'm Denise Menchaca, Mayor of the City of San Gabriel. Without a doubt, this past year has been a significant challenge. In just a short time, our community experienced unprecedented hardship and change. Some have even faced a profound loss. Despite these challenges, we still managed to rally together to bring food, masks, shields, and other crucial resources to our elderly, first responders, and families in need. We found unique ways to adapt, be resilient, and stay connected while staying safe at home at the recommendation of our public health professionals. We've provided grants to our businesses, relief to renters, and funding for our senior meals. We've created the HERE Commission to help ensure the safety and representation of our diverse communities, setting a blueprint for neighboring cities to follow. As we continue to progress into the new year, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the preceding year, to reflect on our challenges and our changes. More importantly, I'd like to take time to focus on the power of resilience as we navigated through a challenging year. Before we get started, I'd like to take some time to recognize my colleagues on the City Council, including Vice Mayor Chin-Ho Lau, Council Member Tony Ding, Council Member John Harrington, and Council Member Jason Poo. As a City Council, we collectively focused our attention at navigating through this difficult year. I'd like to personally thank them for their hard work and dedication throughout this time. Now, please join me as we take a look back at 2020 in this year's State of the City Address. We started 2020 with the goal of improving our city's financial health. To do this, we as a City Council fundamentally change how our city's budgeting process works. Working closely with everyone at the city, we were able to pass several fundamental policy changes designed to improve transparency and to promote accountability, allowing us to chart a prudent financial path moving forward. These efforts have already made an impact on our city's financial health, allowing us to generate an operating surplus in the past year with a projected surplus for our ongoing fiscal year. These operating surpluses were achieved with a status quo budget with a focus on reducing costs whenever possible. This includes finding ways to take services in-house to reduce costs, reevaluating our contracts with our partners using a new citywide contract management system, maintaining strict staffing levels, and finding new sources of funding to support our services. To talk more about our efforts to address our budget, I would like to introduce Mark Lazaretto, our City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As many of you know, the City of San Gabriel has not been in a good budget situation over the past few years. But I'm proud to say that with the hard work of the City Council, the San Gabriel City team, and the community, we have made great strides in fixing those situations. Our budget situation is still in a negative fund balance, but it's about half of what it was a few years ago. That has been accomplished through the hard work and efforts of all of the members of the San Gabriel team, as we have cut our expenditures everywhere possible. And we have also worked with the community who put their trust in us by adopting Measure SG. Measure SG is going to help us in the future to invest more into our city streets and infrastructure. It's going to help us build more projects, and it's going to help us invest in our team, which is one of our most important assets. But the work that we have done, which I'm proud to have been a part of, was to turn our budget around. And for the past 3 years, we will have ended our budget year with a slight surplus. Again, we have a lot of work to do, but I'm excited and optimistic about 2021 and what the future brings.
These operating surpluses have allowed us to reduce our general fund deficit from $2.6 million in the 2017-2018 fiscal year to a projected $1.34 million in our most recent fiscal year. As you can tell, There is still much more work to be done, but this recent progress means our policies are working. To ensure that our essential services remain uninterrupted in the immediate future, we also asked our community to take a close look at a 0.75% sales tax measure to help fund important city services. This sales tax measure, known as Measure SG, was designed to protect our most critical services, including public safety, recreation programs, and public infrastructure improvements. While Measure SG was designed to fund these services with the goal of expanding their scope in the future, the sales tax measure has instead allowed us to maintain our current services in the midst of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. While other cities have been forced to reduce services as a result of the dramatic drop in sales tax revenue, we have been able to use funding for Measure SG as a stopgap to prevent any significant cuts or reductions. As we addressed our city's budget, we would later experience one of the worst pandemics our country has faced in over a century. Not limited to a single country or region, COVID-19 would soon have a profound impact on our lives and on society. As we learned about COVID-19, we asked our community to make sacrifices by avoiding gatherings and to practice good personal hygiene. We then asked our community to mask up and for a period to stay safer at home while we attempted to slow the spread of COVID-19. The results of these sacrifices have been immediate and far-reaching. While these actions have saved and continue to save lives, they've also impacted our community socially and economically. As a result, we've harnessed the resources of our city to focus on three key areas during the pandemic: service, relief, and health. Let's first focus on service. In order to continue our most essential services, many city programs were modified to accommodate our new normal. In an effort to still serve our community, our front counters began offering service online and via telephone, alongside limited in-person appointments and drop boxes at City Hall. To talk more about these service changes, I'd like to introduce our Community Development Director and Assistant City Manager, Armine Sheparian, to talk about our most recent changes and how we've learned to adapt to changing norms.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take a moment and tell you all about all the changes we've made. When the pandemic hit, it really was an overnight change for community development. From looking at ways to offer plan check services for building, planning, and any submittals that residents wanted to do, it was something we had to do very quickly. What we ended up doing is offering ways that all residents can do their plan submittals online, which means that staff is looking at multiple emails, responding to the submittals, and doing all the back and forth that we would typically do at the counter, but doing it virtually. We have offered for residents to meet with us using various tools, including FaceTime. We've offered for residents to do drop-offs at City Hall, and we've also delegated a spot in the parking lot of City Hall where we do drive-through drop-offs and pickups. In addition, we've offered to do virtual inspections of properties, along with making ourselves available to do a lot of phone calls, emails. We set up a line specifically to take intake from residents and an email. In addition, offering these tools, we've offered to do all of these things in different languages, and it's worked. Sometimes it is more work because certain tools are not as easy to navigate for residents who have never had to use them before, but we're always willing to take the time to work with the residents, with the applicants, walk them through it. We're offering our services in any which way we possibly can because we want to be business friendly. We want to work with our businesses. On the economic development side of things, we immediately created ways for all of our businesses to reach us through one line, offered ways for them to call staff directly. And I'd like to think that by doing all these things, we are literally making ourselves available at all times to our residents.
While some city programs were impacted, other city services continued with minimal interruption. During the pandemic, our Public Works Department was able to perform important infrastructure improvements to our community while still practicing health guidelines to keep everyone safe. Even in the midst of a pandemic, our team was able to provide a variety of pavement treatments, including full replacement to surface coatings, to over 12 miles of city streets with a budget of $2.5 million over the last fiscal year. The team also performed important maintenance and rehabilitation work on our local signage, facilities, and parks. To talk about the improvements our Public Works Department has made this year, I'd like to introduce our Public Works Director and City Engineer, Greg DeVink.
Thank you, Mayor. The world pandemic has certainly affected all government operations, but Public Works provides many essential services that simply cannot stop despite the impacts of the virus. One section of Public Works responsibilities is our capital investment in our streets. It's not a big secret that a lot of our streets have degraded to poor condition. They have been underfunded for a very long time. In today's dollars, replacing a mile of street is now past $1 million. You can pretty easily see that we simply cannot afford to replace all the streets that have degraded. We've changed our philosophy of depending so much on consultants, and we are designing our street programs in-house instead of contracting out consultants. Separate from that, we're thinking of how do we get a hold of our problem. To put it simply, every year we would fix 1 or 2 miles of streets by fully replacing them and making them really great new streets. But in that time where we fix a mile or two, let's say 3 to 5 miles have now degraded to be the worst condition or low rankings. Moving forward, we're trying to get a hold of slowing the degradation and fixing things more cost effectively. We've recently, this year, done a project that's called ARAM, where we put hot asphalt, a thin layer, a layer of aggregate, and then slurry coating on top of that. That's appropriate for our medium condition streets, even the good condition streets that are just starting to show signs of cracking. And what the ARAM process does at a much more affordable price than replacing it is it adds about 15 years of life to a street. If we get our medium streets to stop degrading to be the worst condition where we can no longer afford to fix them, we can get ahead of the problem. And this coming summer, probably late summer, we should do a very significant project, probably one of the most impactful improvements to our streets the city may have ever done. I'm very excited about it. But it's not full remove and replace that we can't afford, but we will be grinding 2 inches off the edges of the streets of the gutter, doing an ARAM layer which simulates approximately 2 inches, and then paving back a rubber cap layer over the street. And we're going to try and do as many miles as we can. We work backwards from the available dollars, so we're soliciting every grant fund we can possibly get our hands on towards streets and work backwards. Then we pick the process we want, then we decide how many miles we can afford, and then we go out and do as much as we can. So this coming summer, I'm very excited to have a very big impact on our streets.
This continuation of our services also applies to our city's creativity at finding new sources of funding and continuing important events and programs in the midst of an ongoing pandemic. As a testament to the work of our team, I'm currently at Roosevelt Elementary School at a new playground funded by Kaboom and Blue Shield of California and organized by our Community Services Department. Throughout 2020 and into 2021, our Community Services Department has been instrumental in addressing our physical and emotional well-being by modifying their events and programs. Signature events like our San Gabriel Lunar New Year Festival and our annual tree lighting ceremony were able to continue virtually alongside programs for our youngest residents. To talk about the challenges associated with bringing these events virtually, I'd like to introduce Lucy, our Community Services Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Menchaca. Resilience can help us get through and overcome barriers and hardships, but resilience is not something we're born with, and it's built over time. And that is exactly what the community services staff has done this past year, is being resilient. During the pandemic, the community services department staff quickly adapted and implemented modified programming to continuously keep our community engaged through the following events: 4th of July celebration, drive-in concerts and movies, drive-through trunk or treat event, virtual costume contest, virtual holiday tree lighting ceremony, drive-through Dia de los Muertos concert and community events, virtual after-school programming, virtual Lunar New Year celebration, just to name a few. Some of the challenges that we overcame was adopting county guidelines and regulations and keeping up with the ever-changing protocols and making our events safe for everyone. Some of the successes associated with our resiliency included a continuity in regular programs, exploring different experiences, and keeping the community engaged. We wanted to provide a sense of normalcy in our community, which we firmly believe we achieved.
Finally, despite the pandemic, we were also able to expand selected services online. In the past year, the San Gabriel Police Department has dramatically expanded their online presence through social media, creating a new public information bureau that oversees accounts in Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Combined, these initiatives will help improve transparency and allow the public to get a behind-the-scenes glimpse of San Gabriel's finest. To talk more about the new Public Information Bureau, I'd like to introduce Chief Gene Harris and Sergeant Rebecca Gomez of the San Gabriel Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor. During this challenging time over 2020, the past several months, we found it necessary to really determine how we as a police department could really produce some service enhancement components so that we could reach out to members of the community and still provide that knock your socks off service. One of those elements, as an example, was 411 with the chief, where we actually had to make some changes so that we could provide that service virtually in order to answer questions that community members might have. And although it was challenging to get it done, our press folks, both on the city side and on the police department side, were able to get it working so that we could continue to provide that service and answer questions through seamless connectivity. At some point, we're going to get back to face-to-face meetings because we consider that important, but we also considered it to be very important that we continued that service even during the challenging time where we had to meet virtually. One other offspring of that would be the Press Information Bureau. It was born as a result of us evaluating our abilities to provide communication services through many different media platforms. So we needed to create a piece of our organization that was specifically designed to engage in press or media relations. So we created the Press Information Bureau to augment the city's press information officer and their apparatus. And it has been seamless and very effective over the past several months.
I'm Sergeant Gomez with the San Gabriel Police Department. I'm part of the Public Information Bureau, and the creation of the Public Information Bureau has significantly increased our reach online through social media and in a more innovative and customer-centric way. The Public Information Bureau, or the PIB as we like to call it, is the San Gabriel Police Department's media and social media team. We operate under the direction of the city's Public Information Office as part of a larger citywide group. There's a great synergy now amongst the various city departments when it comes to public outreach, and the Public Information Bureau is a testament to that. What I appreciate and what I think the public will appreciate about this new group is how it improves communication with our community, as well as transparency and accountability here at our police department to our community. The PIB's creation and expansion during the pandemic is a testament to the city's commitment to improving public safety services and outreach throughout an otherwise difficult year. The PIB includes members of the police department who volunteered to participate in addition to conducting their regular assignments, such as myself. It has been a bright spot, as I said, in an otherwise difficult year because we've been able to engage with our community even if we haven't been able to do so face-to-face through 411 with the chief or through the other various in-person events that we used to be able to have. We look forward to continuing to expand our reach and improve services online. The San Gabriel community can continue to engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
While our city worked diligently to provide new and existing services without disruption, our teams worked hard to provide relief to individuals and businesses who've been impacted by COVID-19. Our response to the pandemic has been immediate and far-reaching, with policies and programs designed to address the pandemic's impact on housing, food, and local businesses. For those who are renting, we provided a housing relief program that distributed one-time grants of $1,000 to up to 66 eligible San Gabriel residents who have been financially impacted by COVID-19. To serve our older residents, our Community Services Department expanded our senior meal program to provide delivery and drive-through distribution for senior meals. As a result of COVID-19 and the efforts of our team, we were able to expand the reach of this program from 30 seniors served per week to over 200 seniors per week. To talk more about the important program, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Perez, our Community Services Director.
Thank you, Mayor. The Community Services Department offers a senior nutrition program to provide supplemental meals to seniors in our community. This program is typically held in person at our Adult Recreation Center and in conjunction with YWCA provides meals for 30 to 40 seniors each day. With the onset of the pandemic and the Safer at Home order, this program shifted to provide delivery of meals to seniors. The need for meals expanded during the pandemic, and the program grew from serving 30 to 40 seniors to serving over 200. The City Council authorized use of federal and CARES Act funds to help cover the cost of the meals and the staffing for this program. Without the additional funding, this program would not have been possible. In July, the program shifted again to offer a drive-through distribution of meals, which is still happening currently. Each week, seniors drive through the Mission Playhouse parking lot and staff places meals for the week in their vehicle. For seniors who may not drive or have transportation challenges, staff is able to help provide delivery of the meals. During the pandemic, we have also initiated partnerships with businesses and community organizations. Bonchon Chicken provided meals for our seniors, and throughout the pandemic, the Mosque of San Gabriel has provided fresh meals, produce, and non-perishable food items for our seniors. Additionally, we have been able to provide masks, hand sanitizer, and other PPE. This has been a great opportunity to bring the community together to serve this vulnerable population.
To address the economic impact of COVID-19, we created a new 10-point plan back in July 2020 to provide assistance and relief to our local businesses. The comprehensive plan provided a framework for new ways of commerce, introduced a temporary outdoor business permit program, and provided marketing materials to help navigate through this new normal. To talk more about this plan, I'd like to introduce Dominica from our Economic Development Division.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of San Gabriel's 10-point plan for recovery, resiliency, and reinvestment has really been our response to the pandemic. And it started off as reimagining when the pandemic started and we had very limited information during a time that we thought it was going to be a temporary impact to the community. We took that moment to look internal to our processes and to our offerings to the community and say, what can we improve? What can we help facilitate during this time? Under the 10-point plan, we have introduced a temporary outdoor business program permit, which helps businesses stay flexible and pivot to be able to stay open during various levels of restrictions and closures. We have facilitated virtual meetings with businesses while we can't necessarily go out into the community as much as we'd like to have in-person business visits. We're still very accessible despite City Hall being closed to the public. We want to make sure that everyone is safely socially distancing, but that there's no lapse of service being experienced. Through the grant program, we received funding through CARES Act, through the Community Development Block Grant Funds, and we were able to facilitate small business grant loans as well as housing relief. We continue to provide service to the community with no lapse in service experienced. And, you know, we will continue doing that through the pandemic. We're thankful to our business community for their resilience and their contributions to the community and all of the care that they've taken to make sure that their employees and their clients and customers in town are safe through this. And the economic development team stands by ready to assist.
Finally, our COVID-19 response also focused on the health of our community. Our most immediate concern involved testing, specifically how we could organize COVID-19 testing centers that were local and accessible to all members of our community. As COVID-19 centers were introduced throughout the state, we partnered with the Herald Christian Health Center to bring a local testing site to San Gabriel. Back in June, we helped the Herald Christian Health Center launch a new testing location for all asymptomatic essential workers and those exhibiting symptoms to both San Gabriel residents and those in our region. The center offered free tests and did not require health insurance or immigration status to qualify. Here's Fire Captain and Public Information Officer Antonio Negrete to talk more about this important partnership.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, as we all know, 2020 was a pretty crazy year here in the city of San Gabriel. As a San Gabriel Fire Department, we're always looking for ways where we can reach out and assist our community. It's one of the points of our mission that we have as the fire department. And when the Herald Christian Center reached out for us and asked us to partner up with them to get this message out to the community, we immediately jumped on it. We thought it was a great opportunity to be able to reach our citizens. San Gabriel Christian Center gave the opportunity for people to get a peace of mind, whether they had a positive test where they could immediately seek treatment from their physician, or give them a peace of mind if they had a negative test. Now, let's keep in mind that these tests were free, and regardless of immigration status or type of insurance that you had, people were able to go to Herald Christian Center and receive a free test. And one other bonus is that the Herald Christian Center was, at that time, the only multilingual center that had opened up in the San Gabriel Valley. And, you know, as we all know, we have a lot of people in our community who would feel safe in that location. And we were very happy to partner up with them in this venue.
To expand our testing capacity, we then partnered with CORE to offer a mobile testing location at the San Gabriel Mission Playhouse at the beginning of this year in response to the recent surge. Working with the help of Los Angeles County, CORE provided thousands of free COVID-19 tests that were free, pain-free, and family-friendly. For a year that made us reevaluate our budget and address a worldwide pandemic, 2020 also forced us to confront inequality. The death of George Floyd and the nationwide protests that followed made us think about our role in promoting equity and eliminating structures that perpetuate inequality. With the support of the City Council, we were able to pass a resolution that reaffirmed our support for fair, even, and equal administration and enforcement of its laws. We then committed ourselves to an ongoing process of self-reflection, examination, active listening, and engagement with our community to review our policies and practices. To do this, we had several virtual meetings with local community leaders, religious groups, and community organizations to listen to their stories and to understand how we as a city may improve. After extensive feedback, the City Council moved quickly to establish a new commission dedicated to equity, access, diversity, social justice, and respect for everyone in our community. The new committee, known as Human Equity, Access, and Relations Commission, or the HERE Commission, serves as an advisory board to the City Council by reviewing city policies, laws, practices, and procedures to address inequality, inequity, and injustice in San Gabriel. With 7 members representing a diverse membership, this committee will have access to city data, information, and materials to recommend policy changes to advance for equity and access for everyone in our community. Now, I'd like to introduce 3 of our 7 newly appointed commissioners from the HERE Commission to have them talk about the importance of this new commission in their own words.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the founding of the HERE Commission was important because after the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the leaders of our city were made aware that the residents of San Gabriel were concerned about ensuring equity in city policies. Having this commission means that the city is listening to the concerns of its residents and desires that all people, are able to have access to the resources they need and a voice in this community.
Thank you, Mayor. Every person and every organization has room for growth and improvement. The HERE Commission is another tool that our city leaders can use to improve the lives of San Gabriel residents. As a commissioner, one of our goals is to make sure that every resident in San Gabriel feels that they have access to the city's resources and leaders and are given an opportunity to participate in local decisions. Equity, access, and inclusion are necessary for successful governing.
With racial tensions at an all-time high, it was crucial for our city to swiftly establish a HERE Commission. This commission aims to tackle issues such as social injustice and plans to promote diversity and inclusion within our city. I've joined this commission to listen to the people, work for the people, and to ensure that everyone is treated equally. Violence against our Asian community is unacceptable, and we will not put up with this in our city. If you see something, speak up, say something, and be that voice for the voiceless.
As we conclude our look at 2020, there are still several challenges ahead that we must confront. First, our primary goal is to improve access to COVID-19 vaccinations in the coming weeks and months ahead. While we have access to local testing centers, we'll be working closely with our county, state, and federal partners to improve access to vaccinations, including closer vaccination sites that are more accessible for our residents. Second, we'll be continuing to implement our economic development 10-point plan to provide economic support and relief to our residents and our businesses. Our business community serves as an important bedrock for our community, and when they prosper, we prosper. We'll be working diligently to provide as much support as we can as we move into 2021. Finally, as we continue to vaccinate a larger segment of our community, we must adopt to the new normal for the next several months as we recover from COVID-19. Although this year has been difficult for all of us, I remain committed to providing strong leadership as mayor for the city of San Gabriel. When I first began my term, I was eager to provide representation as the first Latina mayor and work creatively for San Gabriel's diverse, talented, and hardworking community. However, 2020 turned out to be a much larger challenge than we had all anticipated, and forcing us to rethink how cities operate during this social, economic, and health crisis. I have been honored to serve the community throughout this pandemic, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your passionate input, involvement, support, and collaboration. There's no denying that we still have much work to do during and after we pull through this historic period. I am committed to further working and building back this great community alongside my fellow council members and with the help of city staff and the members of our community. Thank you for watching the State of the City Address. Stay healthy, stay safe, San Gabriel.